In 2014, a small Pacific nation did something no country had ever done before. It bought land in another country, not for tourism, not for trade, but because its own territory might not exist by the time today's children have grandchildren. The nation is Kiribati, home to roughly 115,000 people. It's not really one country in the traditional sense. It's 33 coral atolls scattered across an area of ocean larger than India, holding together barely 811 square kilometers of actual land. Nearly all of Kiribati atolls rise barely a meter above sea level. The one exception is Banaba, a raised coral island that reaches 81 meters. Those centuries of phosphate mining have hollowed it out and left it barely habitable. Stand in the capital, Tarawa, and you could be looking at the ocean on both sides of the road at once. For most of human history, that was fine. Now it's an existential problem. Sea levels are rising at roughly 3.2 millimeters a year, and the rate is increasing, which sounds trivial until you remember these islands were never more than a few feet above the waterline to begin with. The damage isn't some future prediction. It's already visible. Villages with seawater lapping at their feet have had to abandon settlements. Freshwater supplies and crops have been ruined by saltwater, and storms are eroding the shoreline. That freshwater point matters more than people realise. Islands don't need to sink to become unlivable. Salt just has to reach the underground water lens that every atoll depends on. Contaminate that, and the island dies long before the waves do. Which is why in 2014, Kiribati's president at the time, Anote Tong, made a decision that stunned the world. His government finalised the purchase of nearly 6,000 acres of land on Fiji from a church group for roughly $9.5 million. Officially, the purchase was about food security, growing crops the eroding atolls could no longer produce. Unofficially, everyone understood what it really was, an insurance policy for an entire nation. Tong called it migration with dignity, the idea that if his people someday had to leave, they wouldn't arrive anywhere as refugees, they'd arrive as landowners. That single phrase captures something most climate coverage misses. This isn't a story about water levels, it's a story about what happens to a nation's identity when its physical territory disappears. What happens to citizenship, culture, and sovereignty when the map itself erases the reason those things existed? Here's the twist scientists keep having to explain. These atolls aren't uniformly sinking. Reef growth can actually keep pace with moderate sea level rise, and wave action deposits sediment that has kept some islands stable, even growing, rather than shrinking. Which may be the more unsettling version of this story. Kiribati isn't waiting to vanish in one dramatic moment. It's already disappearing, in the water people can no longer drink, and the crops that no longer grow long before the ocean finishes the job.